Wait, we're leading here? That short? Who are these fucking nerds scoring 92, 99 here? Anyone in the chat from the top 10 list, from the top 10 leaderboard here? Let's crush. That was a brutal session yesterday. Time for some reviewing, I would say. Or let's say some studying. Let's do some King of the Hill. I think it's probably going to be doing some limping and raising. Oh, it's only raise, really. So it wants to limp these bottom combos. I definitely wouldn't apply limping strategy in practice. I would mostly focus on raising. So, I mean, if you play a raise only strategy, you have to raise a little tighter than that. Otherwise, you get very susceptible for rejams. It's very interesting, right? That you also supposed to limp these kind of like 9-8, 10-8 off. Yeah, I cannot imagine that we want to limp 8s here, to be honest. I'm just going to go for a raise. Actually, I want to limp it quite a lot. I honestly haven't studied a lot of limping 20 big blinds, so I'm going to do a lot of mistakes. But from these positions, we do very little limping, as we can see here, only 3%. So I would neglect that. I cannot imagine that we play 8-7 suited. Yeah. Just like super low frequency. I mean, it could even be jamming, right? It starts jamming 10-8 and Jack-8 suited. That's all right. Even if you jam this, it wouldn't be too bad. Wait. Is it now the same questions again? Let me just check. Yeah, okay, we did these. Yeah, Queen 6 suited is not an easy jam, as you see, my friend. I have the master. The paired is a different tool. It has nothing to do with the term masterclass. We'll probably start jamming Jack-10 suited. I think the off-suited we just call. We jam Jack-10, Queen-10 suited, yeah. Just call. What would we jam here? The lower pairs. We're going to be calling. This range is very polarized. And before you check the result, so always try to recap what you know. So I think queens, jacks, 10s, 9s, 8s might even be calling a very high frequency. And then we shove a lot of these lower ace-X, like ace-5 type of hands. And then some suited king X, I imagine. Or suited queen X, actually. So we heavily jam those. We actually jam a lot of these off-suited aces. Yeah. And actually all these pairs just call. Wow, it's so insane. Like, I would have thought very high frequency calling these, but I would have thought still some jamming. But it makes a lot of sense. Small blind raising range is going to be very polarized, right? Like, Jack-8 off, Queen 6 off, and you don't want to full out these hands. Yeah, 10-5 suited. I would call any suited 10 here. Yeah. Okay. I would have maybe folded 7 deuce suited, to be honest. And I think it's fine if you fold some of these like very, very bottom combos. They're not making a lot of money. Wait, what's stack size? 30 big blinds? We're definitely going to be calling this. Would fold 7-4 off, but definitely calling 7-5 off. Oh, 7-4 off is a call. Okay, interesting. Okay, it was a min raise, right? Yeah. Thought it's also 2.3x, but yeah, min raise. I think I would have still folded against the min raise. And again, we jam heavily around the suited Jack-X. Makes a lot of sense. We make a fold queen check off, queen 10 off. These are tricky, right? I think fold is not too bad from these positions. I mean, we're not so deep anymore. I would call on the cutoff on the button. Call can't be too bad either. It's probably doing a mix of calling and folding. Can't think that 3-betting is so good. I actually 100% fold. Yeah, okay. A little bit of calling station. Guys, we have a support. If you want to find out more around paired, razoredge.com, paired.com, you'll find everything there. That's a misbelief that you want to be 3-betting these offsuited combos. Like, you're still going to be called at least some of the time. You don't want to be like always having these offsuited combos because you play terrible. If you want to 3-bet offsuited combos, as you see, you want to be 3-betting a lot of these very strong, very strong broadways, right? Call or jam? I think it's a call. Should probably mix, right? But it's good to have these in your calling range. I mean, you just dominate, you just smash his opening range. Shoving is totally fine as well. Wow. It's ace 10 suited, then it starts calling. All right, all right. Gonna call this. Yeah, I would 3-bet like king 8 suited perhaps. Yeah, king 8 suited starts 3-bet a little more. So this is just a very shallow way of learning. If you want to 3-bet these deck sizes, it's really important to have an ace or a king. You see very heavily a6, very heavy king x, queen x as well. You want to have a good blocker, ace queens. You want to block the his hands are going to be 4-bet shoving a lot of the times, like queens, ace queen, jacks. You start blocking too much of his fold. Ace jack is never really 4-betting. 80. You see, people are crushing it. People are crushing it in the leaderboard. Squeezing is interesting. Okay, we're definitely going to be squeezing a lot of trash in this spot, but I'm just going to go with a call. Probably lots of this spot when the small blind calls. So when the button calls, you want to be more around the jack 10s, 10 9 suited type of hands, suited king x. But here, I would imagine like a lot of off-suited aces want to squeeze. Maybe something like king 10 off. Ace 6 off, ace 2 off squeezes, even queen 7 off, jack 7 off squeezes. And then lots of jamming. So like we never really squeeze something like jack 10 suited in the spot because we have position on the small blind. This should just be a call. Ace 9 suited is one of the favorite hands to squeeze here. But again, this is something where I'm not going to be hard on myself. The EV difference is super marginal. I also made a YouTube video about this, explaining that. And yeah, I think it's important that you you understand the main concept here. So squeezing some ace 10 offs, ace jack off, some of these stronger broadways. If you do that, it's fine. This is both calling and 3-betting, I can imagine. Would have definitely thought that we'd do a little bit of 3-betting here. But it actually starts with a 9-8 suited. This folder call is definitely not a 3-bet in my opinion. That's a tricky spot. That's a very tricky spot. We play against a very tight range here. He flats. Yeah. I think that's a fold with ace 10 off. Or even ace jack off wants to fold a lot of the times. It's very interesting how tight we're supposed to be. So this, for example, my worksheet that I use for different topics. So for pre-flop, recapping certain spots that I've been working on recently. There's also some old stuff in here. So what I want to learn from this, don't tie this right when it comes to overcalling from the button. So UTG open, UTG call, UTG MP calls, let's say with around 30 to 60 BB, tend to be very tight since MP UTG flatting range is very narrow. We even fold ace jack off 70%. We fold most suited aces up to ace nine suited. I can even take a screenshot here and put it in there. Yeah, I wouldn't say probably to 60 big blinds. Let's say to 45 big blinds. Because the value of the suited aces with 60 big blinds is just too good, right? You see that even king, queen off, or these queen, jack, 10-9, ace 9 suited, this is where the card removal effects come into play. Just picture his flatting range, right? Let's just, if we go, okay, we can do this after the quiz. His flatting range, right? It's like lots of jacks, 10s, ace jack suited, king queen suited. So if you have 10-9 suited or even jack 10 suited, it's really hard to flop something. You essentially have 4 cards also under the gun range that are blocking a lot of your outs. I mean, yeah, of course. Wait. I would have folded, but no, wait. What the fuck? Am I missing something? We call this? I mean, this is so sick about card removal effects. Like, you see ace 9 off as a fold, but 9 deuce suited is just so much better. Like, having a deuce, because none of them is gonna have a deuce, right? You're fucking kidding me? And even like 5-3 off. I mean, this I see the point. Because, again, card removal effects. Likelihoods, which cards are taken out of the deck. If you have watched the movie 21, Counting Cards in Blackjack, it's the same principle. They know which cards are being taken out of the deck. So a similar concept works in poker. We can kind of count the cards that have been taken out of the deck. And these are going to be a lot of ace, king, queen, jack, 10 type of cards that they take out of the deck. But then, since these cards are taken out of the deck, there are higher chances that we actually can hit trips, right? No, these are pure GTO ranges. This is not subjective. I don't say that I would do this because, again, it's also really tricky to play. But, like, you see just how bad. And if you look at the view of Jack 10 off is not making a lot of money here. It's also fine to fold. I understand, of course, the suitedness, right? But, like, in terms of the raw equity, ace 9 off versus 9 deuce suited, I would guess 99% of players would have guessed ace 9 off is better than 9 deuce suited. If there would have been an option of folding, I would have folded all day long. I think it's also important when you do a study session, because you could study thousands of spots. Just take a few, have 2, 3, 4, 5 takeaways. That's it. And if you do that every day, you're going to be improving a lot. Yeah, the algorithm in terms of the question, the possible answers is definitely going to be something we keep improving from week to week. This should be a fold. Yeah. I would call Jack 9 suited. Again, also his range is not too loose. Again, if there's one recreational player involved, this is totally fine flatting this. Even Jack 9 suited is a fold. This should be a call, especially in the small blind. Yeah, again, if the small blind comes along, you squeeze. You can essentially, like, all this. You can really select from all of these hands here. Like, maybe not the Jack 5, but like this section, like they're all decently EV in terms of the squeezing. So King 7 off, Queen 8 off, Ace 7 off. This is what you should keep in mind. Don't try to focus on the hands. If you can remember, yeah, we're going to be squeezing like King 8 off, Ace 7 off, Ace 8 off, Jack 8 off. Perfect. Mazel tov. Move on. This is because you have billions of different spots. You won't be able to remember it exactly. Definitely calling. Squeeze. You do a bunch of jamming. I would be jamming like 5s plus. In theory, I think in practice it's probably fine to jam any pair. Ace 9, Ace 8 suited, we jam. Lots of Jack 10 suited, Queen Jack suited. Let's see, yeah, we jam Queen Jack, Jack 10, Jack 10 suited. A little bit off with the pairs, so we only jam technically 7s and plus. We jam these suited aces. And then again, and as you see, we don't do too much squeezing because we only really have aces and kings that want to squeeze. And then maybe your ace, queen, ace, king suited sometimes. So you just mix in some few off-suited aces. And if you think population overfolds against squeezes, you can again choose from that spectrum here, right? It should be a fold. Now we're 40 bigs. With 30, I think we should probably fold, but I'm gonna... Yeah, it's still a fold. It's insane. I'm such a calling station. Would be squeezing like ace 9 suited, ace 10 suited. We make them fold ace jack off, which is really good. We have 2 overs against 9s, 8s, 7s, which are always going to be calling. Some jack 10 suited, queen 10 suited might call against our squeeze, which they shouldn't. Actually, yeah, we even fold here. Like, look at that. That's insane. Okay, this is interesting. 60 bigs. So I have a good comparison of... can actually put this right next to each other. I just see how marginal these preflop calls are. Right? It's... I mean, earlier I mentioned 30 to 60 big blinds. I wasn't that off. That we're also very tight with 60 big blinds. Yeah, Patrick, the thing is, your way of reasoning is, yeah, playing in position 2, it is a call. You can still have the chance bluffing. Well, the problem is that you play against very tight ranges. You want to be bluffing into very tight ranges, into very strong ranges. And this EV is already considering that you play in position, that you can make a strong hand, and that you can bluff. Yet, it's a marginal EV. It's essentially the way now you counter-argue is I would take a calculator, prove you that 1 + 1 is 2, and you would say it's 3. Again, we just say in theory. We need to distinguish between theory and reality. In reality, if you have reads, if you think your opponents are bad, it's not a bad call, right? And the bottom line here is just to understand that these are very marginal in theory. And if you play against solid opponents, you might not making any money. It's the same that I hear, and no offense here, I'm just trying to help you out. It's because but you know their ranges is strong and your range is wide as fuck, which make it harder for them to play against. Well, then call 5-4 off according to that logic. Because they're going to be hitting also, you play against 4 cards, you still play against 2. You cannot just go ahead and go bananas. On low boards, they're going to have over pairs and sets. On Broadway boards, they're going to have a shitload of top pairs, straights, 2 pairs and sets as well. So you got to be very careful with that kind of logic. It's not very logical, the way you're approaching it. And again, this is just purely from a theoretical standpoint. And we see it wants to do it sometimes. And if you would look up the EVs in a solver, it would show you it makes 0.01 big blinds with the preflop call. And to be fair, most of the time it's not that every third or fourth time you're going to be hitting a flush or trips. You know what I'm saying? This happens like every 20th time. And the other 12 times you're not going to be hitting anything. And the other 8 times the board is going to be Jack 7-5, and then you sit there with your A7, have to pay once. And that's where you constantly lose another 5, another 10, another 15 big blinds. Yeah, and then here and there you scoop like a 20, 30, 40 big blind pot. But it's really hard to make up all the other instances where you have to call, you have to float, but actually you're just ahead. You're just behind for the most part. So which spots? Yeah. So let's check the spot where under the gun, just to show you the flatting range, right? So facing a race, let's say from under the gun for, take 16 big blinds. So you see that's why in the button we overcall very, very tight because of the card removal effects, what I explained earlier. So if you have a Jack 10 suited, just look at the cards that are dominating you. I mean, the main value from Jack 10, 10-9 suited, or Jack 9 suited come from making 2 pair and straights. So, but the cold caller is going to be blocking a lot of these outs, and then you still have the open raiser, right? Who's also going to have more often hands around here, around the broadways. So again, these are just very shallow. It's good to warm up, or it's good to maybe recap or refresh some pre-flop fundamentals. And if you want to do some other quizzes that go deeper with explanation videos, you have all sorts of different spots, even ICM. We recently started adding some my spots that I played in reality. So you watch them practice ICM with explanation videos. So it's not only just showing you the GTO solutions, but in between the questions, you have the chance to watch a 30-second, 1 minute, tops 2 minute video of me explaining. Let's do some post-flop drilling. Yeah, explaining me the theory behind it. Post-flop out of position. All right. Wait, did I get this? Was it the 3-bet pot? Wait, we're leading here? That short? Wait, I have to close my poker sites, of course. I remember, I think 6 years ago when I was still grinding sitting goals full time, it always happened to me. And I think I got banned for 24 hours because it just happened over and over again, right? You don't close your... I think this was all I was doing. I was grinding that much. I was not even closing my poker sites anymore. I went to bed, I left my computer on, next day I returned, and then when I wanted to do a study session, I still had the poker sites open, and I forgot about it. And then it happens like 5 times per month or like 10 times per month. At some point, poker stars, okay, chill, dude. We have to ban you for 24 hours. So then I was a bit more careful about that. Now this is a single raise pot. I mean, and this is in a lot of these spots when ranges are really wide and you have a nut advantage that very often you can, these kind of combos, they're all identical in terms of EV and you can just mix it up depending on, also on your reads, of course. Who are these fucking nerds scoring 92, 99 here? Anyone in the chat from the top 10 list, from the top 10 leaderboard here? Any second day twos from last session? It hurts. So yesterday I stone bubbled the 5K. I soft bubbled 2 to the money, the 10K. I busted kind of close to the money in the other 10K. I busted close to the money in the 25K, and I bubbled another one. Okay, the sim is running. We're gonna look into that. We continue in the meantime. Yeah, I mean, it's very... The problem is that his betting range contains a lot of king, jack, king tens. Without backdoor, I know that the solver likes to be very, very sticky against very small sizings, but I think if you think about his bets are gonna have lots of gonna second barrel out of the time, so jack 10, 10, 9, so we lose a lot of equity realization against those hands, and then also against his bluffs we're not performing well. So yeah, and this is what I would consider then a blunder, because we actually lose a lot of EV here. This is a race board. Wow, we still call this? Wait, was it a limp pot? I mean, if it's a limp pot, you barely fold ace high against one step. So maybe it was a limp pot. Then screw it, whatever. This is us open raising. Ha! Same spot, different hand, so we can do all. No, I wanted to select all of them. Yeah, you have to select the highest frequency play first. I mean, you can do literally whatever here, right? Call, raise. So what's the highest frequency play? We open raise, he calls, we check. I would guess it's call. Doesn't really make a lot of sense to... I mean, raising, jamming, it's all profitable. He can have... I mean, what is he going to do with ace 10 and clubs, right? I mean, multiple donk sizes in a quiz feels a bit... No, because you have spots where you want to donk big and you have spots where you want to donk small. And I'm a big fan of simplification. I'm not a big fan of having 6 different sizings. And if someone wants, it's just my personal taste, the way I study. But I still, here and there, I'm using also just to get an idea. Usually I try to have one very small sizing, a medium sizing, and a big sizing, sometimes even an extremely big sizing, just to see how often the solver wants to utilize another advantage. And if you only work with one sizing, I think that's a little bit too much. I think betting small, betting big doesn't really do much here, so we just bet small, we check. Definitely gonna check the 7s on this board. Also doesn't accomplish a lot here. Limp pot. The thing is, we don't accomplish a lot with protecting, because a lot of, maybe if he has 10-9 and clubs, he's fold, but the moment he has a heart and he has 2 overcard or a spades, he's calling, so I'm going to go with a check. But again, even if you bet, you see this is a spot where if it starts mixing and it doesn't do it full frequency, then it's totally fine. You shouldn't be too hard on yourself. Gonna start also limp pots here just to get an idea how wide we stab. I see a lot of players just randomly stabbing, thinking, wow, my opponent has whiffed this board. But you know, these days people understand your range is really wide as well. If he has queen deuce in diamonds, if he has king high, ace high, in all the high card hands with 1 overcard are going to be calling very often. So, and you also block a lot of the folds, right? You block the 6 deuce off, you block the 7-6 off. You don't block any of these overcards. So you should be very careful. All right, 77, not too bad for also 1 or 2 questions not getting the action right. Definitely possible to have an 80, 85 score and more. So let's see the king 7-7 spot. Sick, yeah, we do some leading. Because we have this sick nut advantage. And in position, I assume, is probably doing a bunch of checking. Yeah. And this is, by the way, I think a great spot. Let me make my shit face, let me make it a little smaller so you can see the checking frequencies as well. So king 7-7 And I presume this also applies for queen 6-6, queen 5-5 kind of boards. Let me run it for. So this is of course handy when you have a solver and you can just open the sims. But what I prefer, instead of just rushing through the sims, just studying one spot really in depth, because again, you can mirror this knowledge onto so many other different spots. So just to make sure that maybe there's a pattern that, let's take queen 5-5 and do the same for queen 5-5. And what I believe is that population also just over c-bets this board, right? We have whiffed a lot from the big blind, so we get to play this board very aggressive. We see we raised 33%. But also the in-position player, essentially when he has an ace or queen high hand, I imagine he's floating everything with the backdoor. So like, yeah, we see queen 9 hearts is calling, queen 10 hearts is calling, even queen 10 and diamonds. So what I'm gonna do is, which combo? Yeah, first we're gonna increase. I'm not gonna increase it too much, but I definitely think more 75 is a little bit more realistic. And also, the calling hands. So for example, queen 8 off, right? These combos, I think actually a lot of these players just always bet them. I think they're always folding it. I think ace highs are going to be pretty sticky, so I'm going to leave that in. But then also some of these queen 5s here. Yeah, I can lock this. And then let's take the queen 3. Yeah, I think they're folding. Queen 8, queen 9. I think these hands are probably folding. We're just gonna take the. Did he just now select only? I only want to select the hard combos. I think I should first. Why is he not selecting those? I mean, we can leave it in for now just for the sake, because if I don't want to select, I mean, he's obviously bet calling a queen eye flush draw, right? Population bet range this. Yeah, I can even imagine they bet range here. A lot of check back. And especially in the later stages when people are a little bit more conscious about their stack. I just recently upgraded to Pyro 2, so it's a little bit different way of node logging. But technically, you go here, you select the hard combos. Oh, this is pre-selected, so I think you want to select it from here. Queen 4, Queen 5, Queen 8, Queen 9. Okay. Incorrect impression? Why is it incorrect? Let me see. Okay, this is a bit tedious, but because of missing the comma. Okay, that makes sense. Someone knows an easier way of... Yeah, I think Queen 10 hearts might float. I mean, if you have Queen and hearts, you face a check raise. Are you really calling it, right? I think most players wouldn't. And then we have Jack 10 off. I think Jack 10 off, wow, it's actually definitely also folding a little bit more, I can imagine. Oh, no, let's take out these first. Same for... Yeah, okay. I think this looks reasonable. Suited aces. Gonna take out some of these suited aces. I think they're gonna be folding a bit more. All right. I mean, even pocket 3s, 4s, 5s, it's still quite sticky, right? We demand cash game masterclass. Yeah. I also demand a lot of things in life, but unfortunately, das Leben ist kein Ponyhof. Oh, let's actually see the Queen 5-5. If we do some leading here. Yeah, Queen 5-5 as well. So that's pretty interesting for out of position. Just gonna take one screenshot. Also helps me to illustrate much better. damn it. We just wait. So just to get an idea how wide we c-bet here and how wide we're supposed to check raise. How does one even begin to study which flops to c-bet and with which sizing? You start with one. You start with one, let's say you start with one stack size. One advice here, I would try to focus more on 20 to 40 big blinds. This is probably the most played stack size in tournament poker. So then you start more from later positions, as I do here. Work with notepads. I mean, there are fantastic tools out there. So you have one for post flop. Then you make a section in position, right? In position, late position versus blinds. You look at some spots, some boards, maybe ace high, king high, take some screenshots, take some notes. That's it. Half an hour, 1.5 hours. Then next time you middle position. This is how you start building your own library. You can also start with deeper stack sizes. I mean, just start. Along the way, you will see what you need, where you need to go. There is no blueprint because it's different for everyone. Then what is the key to achieve poker greatness? To not ask generic questions and ask specific questions. This is what I would first always say. Achieving greatness in something is acquiring specific knowledge. And in order to acquire specific knowledge, you have to ask specific questions. If we want to keep it generic, then it's patience, dedication, endurance, discipline, life balance. That's it, all right? But you can mirror this onto everything in life. This has to be given in one way or another in order to be great at something. Okay, so look at that chat. So what we did here, for everyone that was just tuning in, let's assume our opponents are, and listen, like this is some very realistic assumptions here. We c-bet, we face a c-bet of 75% of the time. Maybe people understand, okay, they check queens, jacks, tens here, but let's say they c-bet 75% of the time. And against the raise, they're not defending queen x and hearts, they're not defending ace 5 diamonds type of hands, and they're not defending those. It's still very sticky, can even be more. And we just get so fucking aggressive. We essentially have no calling range anymore. Or you just go absolutely mental. And this is what I love working with these tools. Yes, I understand there are a lot of tools where you can just, we also have that impaired, we can just practice spots, but take one or two spots where you're not really sure you understand why it wants to do that. And we have seen that. Like I wasn't really sure why do we want to lead on king 7-7, right? And then now I discovered something else. I mean, I was already aware that paired boards are probably a little over c-bet in reality and under defend against check raise, so it's always good to check raise really wide. And And this is a great way then with working tools where you can note lock, make them more realistic. But ultimately, if you just keep using those tools, they just show you, okay, check raise 20% or 25. But in reality, you're supposed to check raise your entire range, or you're supposed to check raise every hand that wants to continue. So just taking a mental note here. I think that is a very beautiful summary of today's study. And always have a little fun with it. So let's do some in position post flop. So under the gun, yeah, I think this is a really bad combo to snap, in my opinion. We block a lot of his folds, queen jack clubs, etc. If then just small, can't see this ever being a good big bet. But yeah. Small or check. Would go bet small and check. Gonna go small and big. Small or check. Okay, against big blind. I think it wants to go big because it probably folds out some of the... No, it never folds out an open straight draw. But like, yeah, okay. We fold out something like... Do we fold out ace-9 spades? I would be very surprised. I mean, there have been a lot of GTO tools released recently, and the reason why I prefer something like PyroSolver, and we're not affiliated with PyroSolver. I have no incentive to tell you guys which software to sign up for, but I really like this node locking function. And you can also practice with it. There's also an opportunity when you run your sims, or you can import sims or the spots you have been practicing with, that you can also quiz them. Yo, Sim, thank you so much for the sub. It's essentially just running one spot after another, and you can just see the ranges, which is, again, studying is always good. But I think one very fundamental aspect of every studying should be understanding the reason behind everything and being able to adjust it in a very realistic way. Yeah, but the thing is, yeah, good input. People are not going to fold a pair against the big sizing. What is node lock? So node lock is you take a sim. So what we just did, right? The sim said, okay, population, you just see the pure theoretical result. But this is theory. And then I go at, in theory, it said we want to be c-betting 60%. But I know that population is c-betting more like 70 to 80%. So I'm basically making it a little more realistic. And I also know they're not defending that much against the check raise. So we get a more realistic result. Node locking basically means to take the node and lock them in a way that we consider it more realistic. Did you try GTO-X? I think there are a lot of amazing solvers out there, but they're all doing the same. You just get to see a result, and it's good. We can do the same with Pio, right? But what I'm missing is the more realistic approach of having someone that explains you theory. There's for sure all great solvers. Oh, it's like out-adjusting GTO for pool, right? Yeah, exactly. The issue with a node lock is that the error can be huge when you're wrong with your assumption. Well, the error is going to be bigger if you're not adjusting at all. And even if we just make small adjustments, if we just say, okay, it might even be realistic that's why I'm taking a very small adjustment here. I was like, hey, I'm only adjusting it like 10% more betting. I could go even further. I could even make them fold more under pairs, make it even crazier, which would probably be even more realistic. So I'm already giving myself a good... And listen, the thing is, and this is what you need to understand, if you always try to follow GTO, it always means you play against perfect opponents. And there's a conflict. How can you play poker being convinced of yourself that you beat the games? Because you can only beat them if you play against weaker opponents. That means they're not playing theory. And this is what you need to understand. You would still make money and be profitable if you play GTO, but you make far beyond more money if you try to follow a more exploitative approach. And I believe that also a lot of the solvers that are providing you, it is really complicated and also hard to apply. I mean, just look at this one spot again on this paired board. Would you defend that wide? So you would be even if you c-bet 60-70% of the time, you wouldn't adjust or you wouldn't play a proper strategy defending against check raises. Because you would be overfolding. I always say, try to learn GTO. I think it's important. I'm neither saying fuck GTO. You have these people that say fuck GTO. I don't believe in it. And then you have the ones just play always GTO. I'm somewhere in the middle. I say try to understand GTO. It will help you to understand poker. But try to exploit your opponents. This will make you money. Try to exploit the population tendencies. This is just the first step, right? It's like in school and math. You also had someone in front of you explaining it. And this is how we learn. We learn from someone understanding us, the why, the reason behind certain plays. And I think if you look at some of the top players out there, a lot of the times they play a very exploitative style. There's so many plays. If you look at final tables, these are the best. These are the elite players. Just go on a random YouTube video, watch a final table review, and put in a lot of the plays they do in the solver. That has nothing to do with GTO, but they have a lot of history with each other. So that's why they're trying to make exploits against each other. And just a constant battle, who is ahead. So they might also, of course, since they deviate from GTO, lose against certain players who just follow GTO, but they're doing so well against the population where they just constantly exploit massive leaks in their opponent's games, which will in the long run provide them a much higher win rate. Yeah, I would bet a lot of these ace kings and would start checking more of these ace jack, ace tens. Ace king, we get some value from like ace 9, ace 5, ace 6, ace 7. We actually have a kind of value bet here. Are there times when you don't want to note lock? Well, the thing is, when I see a sim, and since I've been doing a lot of these note locking, I kind of get an idea what happens if we note lock it. So I see a certain strategy. And of course, I also, against very good opponents on high stakes, I'm trying to lean a bit more towards the GTO approach here and there. But I'm still trying to always consider my tournament live, future EV, ICM. Yeah, I would wait. Under the gun checks. Yeah, I can see some steps. We start attacking 9s, 8s, 7s. So betting big. I don't really see this combo checking. It's such a good combo to stab. Is it all three? No. No, it's bad. I knew it. It was not a should have. I would have just thought that it's a very high frequency bet. Yeah, check or I wanted to select check or bet. I just have to go to toilet. So how can we get good at note locking? Try and error? Yep, exactly. And also speak to others. That's where user-to-user review with friends comes into place, where you can both give some input on what you guys think is more realistic, right? Wait, this is button versus big blind. Can the chips, yeah, can also be displayed in big blinds. Can definitely imagine that there's some checking going on with these because we check back some, yeah. I mean, as you said, like, it's not really. Ah, come on. Don't be so, like, that this is being considered as mistake. It's just blows my mind. Okay, that's a poor. We have to do this again. Wait, it's the, yeah. Wait, is it the same? It's exactly the same, right? Yeah, it's the same quiz. And now we know. Well, the thing is on Jack 10, that's why you see it's like 1%. And you can neglect that, of course, but on Jack 10 5, you're gonna have sometimes you will see that some top pairs want to check back. I do a lot of flatting from the small blind since we got such a good price. Do we three bet offsuited? Oh no, it's offsuited. We call. We call. We never, unless you have reads. It's probably profitable to rejam, but it's better to just call. Don't think we're ever gonna play ace 3 suited here. Which suited ace you want to play? Ace 9 suited. Can see some merits of raising. I would go call and raise. Come on! Why is it wrong? I have to talk to Jeremy. I have to this. Do you think you can show real ranges in for postal play in the future with paired? I mean, the main value of paired are the quizzes with the explanation videos, where we also show, or we started a couple of months ago to also show for all of the post-op questions to show the ranges, the sims, right? It's gonna be a call suited. Ah, come on. We technically we have 100 score here. Squeezing. Squeezing is always good. Call. We had a similar spot earlier. We're going to be shoving 8s, 9s, 10s and better. We're going to be shoving some jack 10s, king 10s, queen 10 suited type of hands. We're going to be squeezing like off-suited aces. Ace 10 off, ace jack off. Jack 10 suited is a jam. Queen jack, queen 10, yeah. Definitely gonna jam the jacks. We call. Do we 3-bet? No, we don't. Yeah. Again, yeah. Very, very off-suited heavy. This is a fold. Jack 10 suited should be a call. Yeah. We had this earlier that we fought these. If you haven't seen it, watch the WOD later. Definitely very interesting. This is probably, this is too deep. So if we're at 30 to 40, I can see sometimes squeezing this when the small is in the hand. So this is just going to be a call. So this is probably going to be, again, off-suited aces, ace 10 off, maybe ace 9 off. Jack 10 suited, I can see squeezing 10 9 suited, king 9, king 10 suited. Yeah. Yeah, the strong off-suited aces. Actually, we start jamming those as well. Wow, interesting. How deep was it? 60 bigs? Yeah. I have a video in the Tournament Masterclass about this concept as well. Shoving with these deep stack sizes. So check it out. Very, very valuable. Some very interesting findings in there as well. We definitely 3-bet jacks here. I don't think we want to start jamming in position. What else do we 3-bet? I guess like ace 10 suited. Maybe an ace jack off is either squeeze or fold. Ace 9, ace 10 suited, king 10 suited. We should have, since we play phase 2 strong ranges, also strong squeezes. Yeah. Good to be right in these spots. Just jamming the queens here. I would tend to fold, but I've seen some sticky stuff on the button calls because this range is also pretty wide. Let's go. Yeah, just call. We dominate a lot of small blind flats. So like here, king, jack, king, queen off, you see very often just calls because you dominate his jack 10s, king 5 suited, it's what he's flatting there. So yeah, again, very off-suited ace-x heavy. This is a rule of thumb. When the button cutoff raise small blind calls, you can be very aggressive with these off-suited aces here. No, queen's x off was a fold. I would either go jam or call. I mean, if we 3-bet, we have to call. I don't see the merit in why. Then we could. Yeah, okay. I mean, we played as a jam, right? Oh, we got the last one wrong. This is so bad. We would have been number 1. The last question. At least ahead of Tim Thompson. I mean, this is sometimes some weird stuff that you will see in GTO. For me, 5s, I jam it or call. I would not squeeze there, period. Yeah, I think this is a pretty decent combo to raise. Why are you jamming 5-5 with 2 players? Because A, they raise... There was a late position raise and small blind call, so they have a lot of... just call. It's a 1% raise! It's GTO approved! Yeah, it's fine to raise. It's almost identical. I mean, don't recall, but we never raise. Check. Check. God. Oh, do we start folding against the big side? I've seen some weird shit on these kind of A6 boards against bigger sizings. Yeah, I think we have to call once. Call. I can't imagine. No, we just call it. Yeah. This is actually a pretty decent hand for some bigger bets as well. You can also see this combo checking though. Yeah, I was all 3. I would have gone with my intuition. This is again, you can go for some check raises. You can bet and continue if we turn it equity. Ben, would we have leads on? Yeah, I think we have leads on 6-4. Maybe not 6-4 deuce, but 6-4-3 probably, and 6-4-5 of course. Don't even see this continuing. Yeah. I'm happy to see that the solver is not the craziest calling station in the world. Yeah, we can have... This is a... Wait, we call from the small blind. We call from the small blind, so then I go with a check. All right, we lead this board quite a lot. Interesting. 79 for out of position is not too bad, and Tim Thompson is ahead of us. He's probably cheating with solver. He probably has a solver open, then he checks all these spots. Why did we have Jack 7 or UTG? We don't have Jack 7 UTG. Then you must have mistaken the range. That's definitely not happening. Yeah, bet check. Yep. Again, you know, we just have seen that we have to be careful on these paired boards, so we're gonna do also a bunch of checking. UTG checks, yeah, we'll just naturally check this. I mean, this is where when this kind of like Queen Jack, Jack 10 type of boards, remember he still has all the ace kings and ace queens. So if you have a 10, I mean, we have an easy bet fold if we face a raise, but we get value from ace kings and ace queens, which are a lot more combos than his value hands. So definitely gonna see merits of stabbing here. Yep. Can see some merits in betting here as well. Bet or check. I think Kleiner Esel, Jack 5-4 is a good spot where GTO is not so good. FA, as far as I know, you could range check there. Theoretically, but population is not betting nearly enough when check 2. Yeah, I agree. I also think it's but then we can take it even further, because if they don't bet with let's say, hands that they would call a bet with, what would be the ultimate exploit? Bet your value hands and check your weak hands. Because otherwise you suffer, your EV from your value hand suffers. So why would you range check then? Does the preflop action not matter? Of course. It's in position. So when UTG checks, of course, you see it in the pot size. I mean, something we can make more clear. We can always make updates. So here UTG checks and he raises and we have now the option of betting small and check. The reason why we want to betting is we protect against queen jack clubs, jack 10 clubs, all these kind of hands that have fully on this board still have some decent backdoor equity. And then also we start folding out pocket eights. And even we put pocket tens and jacks potentially in a very nasty spot on later streets. Yeah, bet small. Okay, yeah. I see. Makes sense. We bet big. UTG check. Kind of want to check here as well, to be honest. Yeah. I feel like this is just such a good combo to check. You're not getting anything better to call to fold, and he can still have ace queen, ace in spades, ace jack, ace in spades. He can still have jacks, tens, queens, kings, aces with one spade, maybe not kings with one spade. And like, we don't really need to fold out king, queen clubs, right? Definitely want to bet this, perhaps even big. Yeah, it's really whatever. You can draw a 3, bet big. Yeah, only bet big, yeah. I was a bit too fast. You see, this is what I meant earlier, that sometimes when you have a spot where you want to be checking a lot, that you also start checking some of your weaker top pairs. Because you're going to have, with this deck size, he can just start check shoving his 4x, his 3x, every flush draw, straight draw. So you're going to face a lot of jams. So now what are you going to do with ace 10 diamonds, ace 7 off, ace in spades? So there are a lot of combos that you want to check back because you don't want to get jammed off your equity. Even top set, we check back. Okay, that was not really good. What? That was not such an easy quiz. Ahead of Tim Thompson. That's, vamos. I can be down 200k yesterday, but I'm ahead of Tim Thompson. Race first in spots. Okay, we're gonna wrap it up with some race first in spots here today. Yeah, I think we race ace 5 off, yeah. But that's pretty much the bottom. In theory, it's probably fine. In practice, it's fine too. Ah, come on, fuck these limps, seriously. I'm not even gonna pay attention to that. 7-4 suited. I think it's both limp and race. Yeah. You see that pattern a lot, these bottom suited combos here, 7-4, 7-5 suited. Then you limp heavily the middling part, king 8, king, queen, king 8 suited, queen 8, queen 7 suited. You raise a bunch of these off suited combos where if you have queen 9 off, right, you make him call 9-7 off, 9-6 suited, queen 2 suited. So a lot of dominated hands call. And you also make him fold 5 deuce off, which is not too bad, right? So this is where you see a lot of limping, queen 4 off. It goes check, check against 4 deuce off or 4-7 off, and you dominate of these hands. So that's why queen 9 off, you raise for value and for protection. Very important concept when it comes to playing from the small blind. Oh, I think we still raise, but yeah, okay. It's not even close. We got 1 or 2 of these limping questions not 100% correct, but look at these geeks here. So Lugula, so Gulula. That's why you can raise the king deuce off and queen deuce off and stuff like that in the big blind. Yep. I agree. All right, guys. Much needed from yesterday. I feel motivated to grind tomorrow again. And if you feel down, just do some studying, some review, discover some new things that you can implement in your game. Brings back the fire. If you have another bad session, do it again. Rinse and repeat. That's all you can do, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this quick little study session here today. I'll be back tomorrow. If you want to check out Paired, check it out. And then see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.